And we're live in 3, 2. And welcome everybody to another episode of the Planet Mullins podcast. I'm happy to have an amazing, kind of a long lost friend of mine from back in the day on the show today. He's a composer, a musician, actor. When I met him, he was teaching voiceovers. He's done all kinds of amazing stuff. And we're going to get into the whole thing about his career over the past 15 years. And it's going to be a really huge amount of fun. Say hello to David Babich, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
What's up, man? How have you been?
I've been really good. Doing really well.
I'm looking at your website here and it says, your TV appearances include American Crime Story, Liza on Demand, American Housewife, Why Women Kill. Well, I thought everybody knew that and didn't need a show, but Grey's Anatomy, Criminal Minds, General Hospital, Get Shorty, Pee Wee Herman Christmas Special, as well as 30 stage plays and voiceover director for live action dubbing and animation for Netflix, Disney, Encore Voices, the History Channel, Benjamin Goldman, Dick's Sporting Goods, and the list goes on and on and on. So obviously, congratulations, bro.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a wild ride over the years.
When we met, we were just talking about it before we hit the button about we met in Brentwood, and I was teaching piano up there, and you were doing, voiceover instruction and stuff, and you went from there all the way to this amazing thing and that you're doing now, and you look exactly as you did then, which really makes me mad. But maybe we should just start with that story, and then we're going to share with everybody one of your incredible short films early in the show too, because so let's not get 20 minutes in or something without showing you that amazing movie. But just tell everybody a little about your journey.
Yes. Well, I think to clarify for everyone, and I'm sure you won't mind this, about how I really met you, although I was just starting to teach voiceover. I had moved back to LA in 2005 and had to have a full reset because I had no real contacts anymore. I was sort of starting over artistically, and I was waiting tables at that time. I was a waiter in my, already in my late 30s, and I met you by waiting tables on you. And you were my customer, and you were a regular there at this place in Brentwood. And so that kind of, I think, makes the story even more interesting in a way, right? Because I started from there, and then I worked for you as basically a personal assistant for a little while.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, do you remember that?
I do, and that was that was in the phase where I was kind of getting to the height of my impossible to be around.
That's funny.
I have those every few years, so thanks for tolerating that. But
of course,
but we had a lot in common artistically, and then the thing that just made it all horrible was the crash in 2008.
Yeah.
So between 04 and 08, I think you were just kind of building your networks and your contacts and stuff. And, you did help me out a lot with my business there for a while. And then boom, it all blew up. And you remember my friend Robert, who was around all the time.
Yeah.
He was devastated. I was devastated. And then pick it up at 2008 after the crash. Like, you come to LA, you've been back for years. Now it all blows up. Now, what did you do?
Gosh, what did I do? Let's see. I mean, during that time, it's funny. I remember that time as, to be honest, I was a little bit in a shell. I wasn't really doing much. I was writing a lot of songs. I was performing as a singer-songwriter. I started teaching music at the Santa Monica Academy of Music.
Okay.
For a little while. I was teaching guitar and voice. But as far as acting, I think I was in like a resistance sort of phase. I was not really wanting to go there yet. I didn't feel like I was able to compete on the LA sort of level as an actor. So I was just resisting that for quite a long time, actually, probably till about 2011. So yeah, I was kind of in a cocoon. I mean, I was watching Dr. Phil episodes in my little apartment in Palms. I mean, I was like, I was like, that's just this memory I have as being sort of like depressed to the point of not thinking I was wasting time by watching Dr. Phil at 2 p.m., you know? No, nothing against Dr. Phil, but that just kind of puts it in perspective. I would never do that right now somehow. But
well, you know, it's at least it wasn't Springer. You know, that's the
true.
thing. Like because that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. But I know what you mean, because there's a real mental mental mindset that you have to develop when you're trying to get going in the business. And I remember when I first came back to LA from Denver and I had a couple of big hit albums, I was amazed at how the weather was so great, but people were so closed and so unfriendly and so unhelpful. It was like, you know, I was in this ocean of talent of older people and people my age and stuff. And it was just this competition constantly of everybody kind of just filling your head full of BS and saying, oh yeah, man, I love your album. You sound so great. I can't wait for us to do anything and work together. And then you find out, like, you know, they took your girlfriend, they took your gig.
Oh
They're, you know,
yeah.
you're supposed to be in Vegas in 6 months, but they're there with your girlfriend in the show. And you're going, what is this, LA?
God. Yeah. I think I was definitely not finding myself during that period. Just kind of overwhelmed by everything, and the competition. Seeing it as competition, I think, is something that I'm still working on, but just sort of embracing who I am and what I'm doing and moving forward that way. You know, it took a while to figure out.
Well, you know, it's an incredible thing that you've created here with this movie. I'm going to do my best to share it now, because you've come all the way from waiting tables on Rob Mullins to this.
Now, I want to clarify something about the movie, if I may, just to be clear.
Please.
That film is the first film that I worked with the director and writer Varda Hardy, who is also known now as Varda Barkar. So she's actually the director of this movie. I'm the composer and voiceover artist of this. It's a 1-minute film called Ode to Los Angeles that was part of a competition of films for it's called On Location. It's a film competition that they do yearly to create a 1-minute film. In this case, it was a 1-minute film about Los Angeles. I just wanted to clarify that I'm not the actual director, but
I watched some of it, and what's crazy is I recognize your voice right away. So just like, there's Babich, you know. And did you write the content? You wrote the words to this?
That was Varda's writing. I collaborated a little bit with it, but mostly hers.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't wait to hit play. Can I hit play now?
Yeah, please hit it. I love it. Yes, thank you.
All right, here we go.
Los Angeles. They call you City of Lost Angels. I'm gladly lost inside of you. Lost amongst angels pulling birds out of hats. Look, beside glistening sands and shimmering shores, a girl angel with colored spheres spinning like planets. Angels sweetly singing under trees. I say, lose me, Los Angeles, to the colored tapestry called Venice. Transport me alongside the violinist soaring outside Disney Hall, past the martial artists displaying their Chinatown prowess. Hide me inside your entrepreneurial briefcases, strutting down Los Angeles streets. Los Angeles. While the mariachi band and Olvera sweeps me into the sombreros like a flying saucer. No, a Ferris wheel, weaving bliss while youth powered by the joy of dance enliven your sidewalks. I see angels everywhere, riding your Los Angeles waves, inspired by you.
Dude, it's so good.
Beautiful piece. I'm so proud to be part of that.
Wow.
It's you know, the thing about that is that I'm so glad I thought of that piece this morning when I sent it to you, because it was a transition point in my artistic career here. It was 2009 when I was at Santa Monica High School watching the performance of one of my voice students. I was there to just watch one of my voice students perform, and I met this woman in the lobby, Varda, the director of this film, and we just started chatting. And I told her what I did, and she said, well, I'm making this 1-minute movie. We're just going to I'm getting just a bunch of my creative people together. I can't really pay anyone, but we're just kind of going to submit this thing. Do you want to do it? And she had never even heard my music, but she got something from my vibe or something.
Right.
And I did it, and I worked super hard on it for free and just gladly. And then, and everyone did. And it was just one of those things that coalesced into what it is. And yeah.
It's so good, man. And I, to see and hear that, for people that aren't Angelenos, it won't reach you as much as it will for people who are from LA. I mean, seeing, Venice and Union Station and Alvera Street and all of these things. There's been a series of these little cartoons that have come out recently, and I don't know if you know about them or not, but they're done by Thrillist. Do you know who Thrillist is?
I'm vaguely familiar with Thrillist.
Yeah, it's a media company, and they've come up. I'm not going to put them in the show because I posted a couple of them in Venice, and they just break down in really funny ways the geographic areas around LA. And some people the people with a sense of humor think it's hilarious, and the people that don't have a sense of humor are like, "Oh, you can't say that about South LA, and you can't say that the dumplings are better if you just keep going out the 10 freeway to the 710 and all of that kind of stuff." But I'll email them to you afterwards.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but going back to like how you came out of the Dr. Phil period and all of that to being so motivated to go out and like get agents and work hard. Did you have to do a lot of demo reels, and how did you build the self-confidence to do all that kind of on your own?
Great question. There was actually another pivotal moment that came right around 2011. There was an acting teacher that I studied with when I was in LA previously in the 90s. When I was going to college at UCLA, got my degree in UCLA, stayed down for a couple more years before moving to the Bay Area, studied at an acting school. And the teacher there, I found out he was still teaching in LA in 2011, and he was a musical theater teacher as well. And he has this musical theater workshop on Saturdays, and he's been doing this for like 30 years. Wow. And I decided to just show up because I hadn't had acting training for years. And I hadn't had just performing training in general. So I showed up, and that just lit this spark. Like there's so much passion coming from that room, and his training was really specific. And it got me to remember how important it was to be a performer, and that I had a lot to offer. So that got me on the track, just sort of emotionally in the right direction. And then it was, finding like my first agent, that was just something that was almost too easy because it wasn't that great of an agent. It was one of those kind of things. It was like, I was like, wait, this is a little too easy. Okay. But then they weren't really doing that much for me. The next agent was the one that is more of a story in a way, because there was this 3-year period where I had basically no representation, and I was trying to be an actor in LA. It was basically impossible. And
right.
I would just put a submission out here, put a submission here, making a demo reel with some material, but not great material, and just kind of doing it, going to these casting director workshops kind of year after year. And then eventually there was this one particular casting director that I had made a relationship with through these workshops. And one day, just randomly, she's like, "How are you doing?" Because she really liked my work. And I was like, "Oh, I'm good." She's like, "What are you up to?" "Well, I'm looking for an agent." She's like, "Call this person." She's like, "Call this person tomorrow." Like that, she had in her mind the agent that I should be with.
Right.
And there was, it was like that champion. Like I felt like now I recognize that feeling when you have a champion for you.
Yes.
And so they actually, I wrote to the agent, and then, however, they said, "This is great. I'm so glad she referred you. We're not taking anyone right now." So every 6 months I wrote another follow-up email. And so I had to write 3 of these. And it's not like I was like sitting by my computer for 6 months. I was like doing my life and living, and then coming back and just being like, "Hey, just letting you know I'm here." And then finally on the 3rd one, she's like, "Why don't you come on down and do an audition for us?"
Okay.
And then I kind of had this other teacher coach me and brought someone in to do the scene with me. And then, and she said, "We're not really taking anyone right now, but we're gonna take you. So
Well, that's just it's amazing. I mean, it's kind of a tribute to your stick-to-itiveness or
yes,
persistence, because a lot of the stories in LA of guys that fail are the ones that just are like, well, I was supposed to get an agent, and then I thought I had it hooked up, and then they told me they didn't need anybody, but they don't know who I am, and like I'm me, and I've come all the way here from Milwaukee, and you know I don't want to live in my car anymore, and they don't understand I'm better than Nicolas Cage, dude, and
exactly.
you
Yeah,
know
exactly. I am. No, I'm just kidding. No, I recognize.
Dude. I mean, and I
Yeah, I
had
hear that.
even when I was teaching in Brentwood, you know, I had people that came in. There was this one lady that came in with her high school age daughter one day to fill out the paperwork and become my student, and they wanted to get a Grammy and all this other stuff. And I said, okay, we did the whole thing. The girl was talented. It was fine. We signed the paperwork. And the mom calls me the next day and she said, is the album done?
Wow.
Her check hadn't even cleared.
Wow.
So, you know, it's a really murky, I think people that are on the outside of our industry don't really see how hard it is or how much you have to work. And honestly, for a lot of people, it does not work out. I think for most people that try and do what you're doing, it doesn't work out, because I remember going back into that restaurant years later and you weren't waiting tables there. You were off doing your thing and stuff. But all of those other guys that were waiting tables when you were, they were now like getting bald and getting older, and they were still there, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 12 years later. And you just managed to like, whoop, you escaped the scene. You got motivated. Dr. Phil helped.
He might have. That's the irony, right? It might have.
Well, you never really know, but you know, then so now you've got an agent and you went in and an audition went well, and then what happened next?
Okay. Then you know, it wasn't all easy from that point. It's not like all of a sudden I was booking all this stuff. I mean, I did actually book my first the first TV thing was right before I got that agent. I was just on my own. That was seemingly easy. It was just kind of a one-liner in Criminal Minds. But then once I was with them, it was about 6 months of auditions and not booking, like not getting anything. And I was a little bit of that panic feeling, like, are they going to drop me? You know, that whole thing.
Right. Yeah,
and sure. I just kind of, and I just stuck with it. And then, got that first booking with them. That was the key, you know, to my own confidence about it. And then things rolled fairly consistently since then. It's not, you know, every day I'm doing acting, but it's, just kind of a gradual, like right now I feel that I'm booking stuff every year. You know, I'm doing stuff.
Well, it's reading over through your website. What brings me to mind about, you know, these goofy shows they have on TV about singers, like America's Got Talent and The Voice and all that. So they have this thing on there where they think that the maximum achievement is, you probably heard this, well, I just heard her sing and she's a triple threat. She could sing, then she could dance, and you know, blah blah blah. So but I look at your website, you're like a 5-pole or a 10-pole threat. You do all this stuff. You can act, and you can do voiceover stuff, and then you also play instruments and write music, and you can write films and dialogues and screenplays and all that. And you know, it's cool to see the guitar and the piano, actually 2 guitars and a piano back there, and the way that your house is laid out and designed, because it's exactly like the coloring and the design and the open space is exactly what I would imagine you would do.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it's just like you can pick up the guitar, serenade the girls, get down to the keyboard, you can play 2 guitars at once.
Right.
What part of town are you in now? I'm in Venice now. Where are you now?
I'm so jealous. I'm in Burbank, but I'm up in the hills a little bit, which is really nice up here. But I'm in Burbank. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're an actor, that's probably not a bad place to be, Burbank.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's where they film everything. And so on Grey's Anatomy, I had a cameo on Grey's Anatomy.
Nice.
And when it's funny because I saw that in your credits too. So I'll tell my story really quick and you can tell me yours.
Love it.
So my bass player buddy, Larry Antonino, his wife, Pam, was teaching one of the stars of Grey's Anatomy. That kid, she was teaching his kid drums. So it's just how those random things happen. And one day this actor, his name was Kevin something, I can't remember his last name, red-haired guy. But he just said to Pam, he said, hey, we're going to be doing this like musical thing on Grey's Anatomy. And do you know any musicians that would want to like form a band? And we could be a band on the show. And Pam said, oh yeah, man. I mean, my husband is a bass player and, I know this keyboard guy, Rob Mullins. And the next thing we know is that we're in that studio.
Oh my gosh.
With 4 of the actors putting this rock band together. And they had never been in a band, like the actors had never been in a band.
That's awesome. Wow.
So it was their only musical episode they did. And we had, all I can remember about the music is the producer thought that this song called Counting Cars was some really great song. And, coming from the jazz head, I hear something like that. Counting Cars, 1, 2, 3, who cares, right? But it was a big pop hit at the time. And we had just a slight cameo. We shot for 2 days.
Oh.
We got to know everybody. They recorded everything. And then it was, they really pumped it on the network. But when you get inside these, sacred areas, like being on set and being in the cafeteria and hearing everybody talk about how much they hate Katherine Heigl. It's kind of an exciting Hollywood thing. But what did you do on Grey's and when did it happen?
That's a great story, by the way. I did not know that. That's so cool. I was let's see. So this was in maybe 4 years ago.
Okay.
But then it's probably more because you always forget how long you're alive. So it's probably more. So no, that might be about right. So it was an episode in which 2 of the main characters that were together for years as a couple, Jackson Avery and sorry, I can't remember the other character's name, but someone's gonna people are like, I know, but they were divorcing. They were having a divorce in this episode, and I was the divorce lawyer of Jackson Avery. So it's this cool episode that's actually bookended, where the scenes that I'm in are bookends of the whole episode. So like I'm at the beginning and the end, and it's a really cool scene. It's really emotional. It's just me and the couple at this and the other lawyer at this table, like a little conference table, and it was a really great scene. It was fun.
It's interesting too because I see that, this is like your look during the day when you're just being yourself and you're not in character, but I've watched some of your stuff and you're so versatile. You could kind of do anything. Like you look great when you're a lawyer and you look great when you're a cop, and then you can look really bohemian. If you have to do the music thing, you can go that direction. And is there, when a screenplay or a script or something comes your way, are you able to kind of pick the things that you want to do now? Or are you still, do you and your agent collaborate? It's like the agent says, hey, I think this would be great for you. Or how does all that work?
That's a great question. My goal, being able to really pick and choose is, I think, the sort of next level I might get to. I'll probably need a larger management company in coordination with my agent to be able to get to that point. So I'm not really picking. I mean, there's some that I'll turn down just because for whatever reason, it may not just be a
fit
appropriate for it. Just may not. I may not be behind what it's the kind of writing it is, but generally I'm taking what I can get. but I'm writing stuff that I think it's my writing that can be a vehicle for more of my own creativity as an actor from my perspective. That's really what it's about.
That's so great, man, because I always considered myself more of a composer than I did a musician. And I had all these people when I was young saying, that's the most brilliant piano virtuosic stuff we ever heard. And I would say, well, I don't really think I play very well. And I really am focused on my writing. And then those people would gather up amongst themselves and say, man, we hate that guy because it would take us 10,000 hours to play half that good. And he just doesn't even care.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have all of these dimensions. And then are you going to, I notice you write a lot of shorts, which I just think is like really cool. It's kind of timely because now there's TikTok. Have you put any shorts on TikTok?
I haven't actually. Maybe I should. I'm sort of afraid of TikTok. I don't know why. I should consider that though.
I'm really afraid of TikTok. I'm so scared of it. I mean, I have Sony distributes my stuff, right? So when TikTok got invented, and you know how it is with everything when it gets invented, all of a sudden it's supposed to be, oh man, now we have MySpace, we're really going to rule. And, good, thank God we can get away from AOL. And then, oh, now we have Facebook, now we're really going to rule. This is great. Okay. And then, oh, Instagram, and now TikTok. So my distributor puts like the weirdest jazz. They put nothing commercial.
Okay.
Like, not anything that would be followable or whatever. They put as far as I can tell, they put the weirdest, most furthest out avant-garde stuff like 5/4 improvs with lots of bashing and crashing. And I did a search, Rob Mullins TikTok, and there was just all these kids on the other side of the world that were like, doing this 5/4 music that I recorded 20 years ago. And I was thought, wow,
that's so crazy.
It's crazy, man. So, you might want to look into that a little bit and just, if you want to do it anonymously, just, put a ski mask on and make one.
Right.
And see
exactly
what happens, because people in the music industry now our numbers, our sales figures, and the income is so bad that people are thinking about, some forward thinkers are thinking about only making 30-second songs now.
What? Oh, wow. I did not even know that. That's very interesting and an interesting challenge.
Yeah, it is. And I think what happened with the way media changed and the numbers, the demographics, the numbers that kind of slid around in music, I see that on my YouTube channel and stuff. I never think that, TikTok for me, it's just a world I don't want to get into. I don't want to mess with it. I'm already in too many worlds as it is.
Yes.
I'm doing okay. I like doing my show here and this and that, but it started as just like a visual thing where kids are just like, I'm going to shoot a basketball and we'll see if it goes in. And then another one's like, I'm going to skateboard. And another one's like, I'm going to try out my dance move. And some of these kids are making like gazillions of dollars. And the gamers are doing the same thing.
Yeah. I do admit I end up watching some of the TikTok stuff, like shuffle dance. I'm super into like watching these kids, and I'm like, wow, I want to do that. But so I think it is. Yeah, there's stuff going on there for sure.
Yeah, but so the next thing for you is, well, what I want to ask is that, since you do all these different things, have you been able to support yourself by just all this diverse kind of work, and you add up, 10% of it comes from this and 15 from that and 20 from something else? Because obviously, I mean, you're still here.
Exactly.
Which is a miracle.
Yeah, basically. That's a great question. And the answer is, yeah, it's been a combination of these different things. And I'm doing, especially over the last few years, it's been less of a struggle. It's been like, okay, I'm fine. I'm more than fine. Now, I happen to be especially lucky over the last couple of years because I fell into the dubbing world as a director and actor. So I'm doing sort of my day job over this. Well, more recently over the last 6 months has been to direct the English dubs of various TV series, foreign TV series. So I'm yeah, in fact, in 2018, that's when I started. I actually, one of my friends was looking, they were looking for this one voice actor to play a particular character in a Belgian drama series. And I ended up being that actor. I ended up booking that. And then I said, hey, I've been coaching voiceover for like 15 years and I've directed these voiceover things. Do you guys need any directors? And then they're like, yeah, come aboard. So I started doing it in 2018. And so I've been doing that on and off since then as well. So yeah, so recently I've been directing a Brazilian drama in English, all the voices. There's like hundreds of characters in this thing. So that's been a pretty big part of my work actually.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it's got to be kind of fun too, to just pull all of that together.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because it really is the culmination of all of my, I'm not saying it's like the culmination of my dream is to be a dubbing director, but it's putting together a lot of my skills. Like, right. I mean, even just the musical skill, the musical background and training for dubbing is really important because you have to be really good with rhythm and timing and then the acting side, obviously bringing out the performance and then just the experience overall to communicate properly and everything. So it's coming together. Yeah.
Wow, man. Well, the multilingual thing, it's been years since I did any kind of network TV stuff, but I did find out through, SAG and some other things that, like when I worked on Sister and Moesha, those shows from like way back in the day, late 90s, I worked on those shows and then I would get these random checks once in a while where it would say, like you said, Brazilian TV, or, you get $12.50 from Poland this week because they've translated brandy into Polish.
Yes.
And, a Polish brandy, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear those dubs.
Exactly.
what they sounded like. So what's next in your, before we, wrap it up, what's next in your musical career? Are you making albums? I've been just making albums.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. I have about 15 songs in progress at the moment. They're literally just in various pieces. I haven't finished a song for a little while. But I do have hopes of getting at least an EP done at some point this year. That is a goal. And I also would like to do one or two live shows at some point this year as well. I'm kind of looking into that right now.
That's great, man. Cause I heard in some of the stuff that I was just looking over that you created, it was like, well, there you are, playing guitar, and there you are playing clarinet, and, there you are playing a little keyboard. So it's amazing that, for me, I'm just so proud of you, man. Honestly, as a guy, a generation older than you, just to see how well you've done. And the reason that you came to mind for doing my show is you posted something that I just randomly saw one day on Facebook, and I was like, oh my God, Babich is still here. I
love your comments, Babich.
Yeah, it's like, wow, man, this guy, because you were always super cool and able to do one thing that I just have always loved about you that I still can't do and I suck at, is that you're kind of an ultimate diplomat when you talk to people. Like, I always have to struggle with people that are particularly stupid, for example, or just particularly missing, the intention of what I'm trying to do. And I have to contain myself and just say, don't call him a freaking bonehead. Don't tell them they need to go back to Ohio and live in their mom's basement, because they just don't do it, Mullins. And you've always had some way of just, maybe it was just all the people that you've met, but you just managed to keep everything so level and cool. That's really hip.
Oh, wow. That's what an interesting observation. I would say that I still, in those moments, feel, I'm not always 100% successful at not feeling those negative emotions of wanting to tell someone a bonehead thing, but maybe I'm just able to appear appear cool about it, but you know, I guess I've thank you for that.
Yeah, you just manage to smooth these things over, you know, when stuff happens. And Robert and I used to notice that about you too. It's like, man, that guy is so chill. He needs to just, you know, replace David Duchovny in the world.
That's really funny.
Because, you know, David's brother lived about 2 blocks from Pizzicato. And
I remember those guys coming in. I remember waiting on those guys a couple times.
yeah, it was an idyllic period for me too, because when I moved up there, things were going really well. And then Robert and I worked on some projects that did really well. And all of a sudden I'm sitting in this restaurant and there's like Jim Carrey's over there. And, you know,
Dustin Hoffman was in there a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman and the Duchovny guys. And then we would go down the street to Nagao, which is at 26th and San Vicente, the sushi place. And Cheech was always in there.
Wow.
Oh
my God.
And it was a really little place. And he would go in, and Chong too. And he would go in there and you're just like, what do I do? I'm 4 feet away from Radon Chong, the daughter. And how do you act? You know, because I don't know about you. I can still get unbelievably starstruck, you know, at certain times. It's just, when you see people, that Chevron station at the end of the block. One day I was there and there was a lady facing away from me who could not work her gas cap on her car.
Okay.
She was a brunette. She was like, 5'4", 5'5". I was looking at her from behind and she was getting super frustrated. And I was one pump over. And finally she started kind of like losing it and cursing and stuff. And I just said, hey, can I help you out in some way? What's going on? And she turns around and it's Kristen Davis from Sex and the City.
Oh my God.
And it's a rental car. And that's why she can't that's why she can't put the gas in. So, you know, I'm still proud that I get to do stuff like pump gas for an actress once in a while.
Absolutely.
So
I have if you want to start a quick star story, if you would like, we have time.
No, we have time. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, aside from showing up to work at California Pizza Kitchen one day and Julie Andrews sitting at the counter, that's just a little moment that I will never forget.
Oh my God.
That was just like, I couldn't believe, and she was the only one at the counter and I was her server, and it was just her and me. I was like, I can't believe this. So but there's another one that's a little more of a story. So I was working at the Santa Monica Music Academy, teaching guitar and voice to mainly kids. And every once in a while, though, adults were allowed to take lessons there, you know, but not often. So one day the owner comes up to me and he's like, hey, you have a new student today. He's actually kind of an elderly guy. He's in his 80s. Are you okay with that? He wants to take guitar. I'm like, yeah, cool. Awesome. And then I go into the studio and then in walks Conrad Bain, Mr. Drummond.
What?
Different strokes. Yeah. So he sits down, we do our lesson, and then he ends up being my student for the next 6 months. He just comes every week, and these lessons are just I'll never forget. I mean, 5 or 10 minutes would be on guitar. The rest would be him telling stories about his time working on different strokes. He came to one of my shows when I was with my band.
Wow.
He sent me $100 check for my birthday.
What?
And he was just like, he was my uncle. He was like a great uncle of mine. And I just couldn't believe it. Then one day he said, you know, we're going to be moving to Livermore. And then about just 6 months later after that, he passed away.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
It's incredible because the encounters that you can have, if you can just survive the living conditions and support yourself, LA is still such a land of opportunity. And I was working at Bandera Steakhouse just down the street from Pizza. Do you remember that place?
I'm not sure.
It was at Barrington and Wilshire, right there on the corner. And nobody really had to advertise it because it was the celebrity steakhouse hang. And they had a Steinway piano, and I was playing with a trio in there. And man, it was that same kind of thing. Like one day I'm just playing along and I'm like, start spreading the news. I'm playing New York, New York. In comes Adam Sandler in flip-flops with his family.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then who's the girl that Harrison Ford ended up with? Callista Flockhart.
Okay.
So one night the two of them get in a fight.
Oh, in the place. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Then Catherine Jordache of Jordache Jeans, she was like a huge Rob Mullins fan. And I didn't even know who she was, but she kept coming over with like money, and I would play she liked Besame Mucho was her favorite tune. And then I would throw these weird like Arabic kind of lines and stuff in there, and she just would swoon over that. And eventually somebody's like, that's Jordache Jeans. That's her and her husband. And it's just fun to just, be in the mix of all that stuff. And as far as mentoring goes, you probably tell your students and stuff too, that you just have to be out of your house. You have to get out. You have to circulate. Like you made a lot of progress just by saying, hey, I feel like I'm in this weird place now. I need to get out and I need to take a workshop.
Yeah.
I need to find a new teacher, or I need to go back to college or whatever. I mean, you can get so much going that way. And I just now, how do people get a hold of you? Your website here is davidbabich.com.
davidbabich.com. Yep. And
Babich. And I'll put all this stuff in the links on YouTube as well, so people will have it in the description. But go ahead. Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, basically, so Facebook is Voice Los Angeles, one word. And sorry, did I say Facebook? Did I say Instagram? Because that's what I meant. Instagram is Voice Los Angeles.
Okay.
Facebook, David Babich. I mean, I have a couple other stray ones, like the musician one, but I would just connect with me, the David Babich Facebook. I've recently changed my professional name to David Perez Babich. So you'll see my name as David Perez Babich as well.
Okay.
I wish I had a show to tell you about now, like a specific date, but I don't.
No, it's okay, man. I mean, just you've done so much, so much stuff already. That's so great. And I just want to get people to be more familiar with who you are and the, all of your talents and what a cool guy you are, because it's kind of rare to meet actors that are cool. Like actors that are just kind of chill, cool people. It's particularly rare. And for some reason, as a lot of people get more and more successful, they're just bigger and bigger jerks. And I can see as you're climbing up the ladder, you're still the cool guy I always knew from the beginning. So that's great.
Well, you too, Rob. Seriously.
Doing our thing, man.
Yeah. And I wanted to say also, I mean, that brief time of me knowing you back then and working for you was actually really important for me, because I got to see, like, there's this successful, like super successful jazz musician producer that I'm working for. And I got to see, it was my first time seeing someone in LA who was like working as a professional on a high level. And it was really cool, actually, just to be opened up to that.
Well, that's one thing nobody's ever accused me of, is failing to work hard. Right. And, people say, well, it's just all come so easy and you've done all this stuff and there's everything. I say, man, you got to realize that as a jazz musician, and people ask me this, they're like, hey man, are you going to bet on the Rams? Are you going to bet on the Lakers? And I say, no, man, I play jazz for a living. I bet on myself every morning.
Wow.
Because you never know if there's going to be any more work, if there's going to be no work, if there's going to be any sales, whatever. But, just, we got to keep our feet in there, man. Just jump into the pool and, you're swimming now, you're halfway through the pool. You're going to reach the deep end and you're going to climb out, and then you can take me out to sushi or something.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in. My guest today on the Planet Mullins podcast has been David Babich. He's an actor, a composer, a dubbing specialist, multilingual, name-changing superstar of short films and other things. And can't thank you enough for coming on, man. And I'll be hitting you up in the future, and let's hang out.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Bob.
Take care.